Hey guys, Ron Soto here, back again doing another book review, and today we'll be reviewing Finders Keepers by Stephen King. Now, if you guys remember, if you guys have been following for my YouTube channel since the very beginning, you guys will remember that Mr. Mercedes by Stephen King was the very first review I've ever done on this channel, and this is the sequel of that, and I love this book, and I can't even believe I don't even have a review on this on my channel yet, despite me reviewing the TV show and the first book. So, what I'm gonna be doing is I'm gonna read is like I finished this book a while ago, but I can't believe I never did a review for it. Because this is actually one of my favorite Stephen King books. So I'm gonna be reviewing this, and right now I am currently reading End of Watch. I have never read that before, but if you guys saw my review for Mr. Mercedes, then you guys might have remembered that in that review I said that I started it but then I never finished it. But right now I'm like getting towards the end of it though, so I'll probably try to get a review for that up soon. So yeah, so here we're gonna be reviewing Finders Keepers. Now, Finders Keepers, the plot of this is this basically has the exact same plot as I mean, not the exact same plot, but the same like story and gist of Mr. Mercedes season 3 of the TV show. So, the plot is like this guy, Morris Bellamy. He breaks into his favorite author's house. His favorite author, John Rothstein, I think. Yeah, John Rothstein, and he kills him because he keeps making fun of him, and then he kills him and he steals he steals all his money, and then he steals all his unpublished books that he never published and that Morris always wanted to read. So he goes and steals those, and when he does that, he kills his other partners that he was working with, breaking in the house. And so after he does that, like, he's so passionate to read it, but he doesn't get the time to, like, he doesn't get the right time to. So when he gets home, he's just chilling, and then he's talking with his buddy Andrew Halliday about selling the books, and he's like, "Don't ever go talk to me about something like this again, or I will call the cops on you." So he was the only one that knew. Andrew Halliday is the only one that knows about Morris Bellamy with the whole books thing and all of that with killing the author. And so after that, Morris decides to go to a bar, but then after that he ends up attempting rape. Like he rapes a girl in an alleyway, but he was so drunk that night he can't even remember that. So so after that, they end up taking him to jail, and then he gets served 35 years in prison. 35 years. That is like a huge life sentence. So he gets sent to prison for 35 years, and then like during those 35 years, he's just like staying in prison, and like everyone in the prison, like he's thinking everyone in the prison has nothing to live for. Like they can die whenever they want to. Like they have no reputation. So some of them might want to stay here still. So yeah, but he doesn't want to stay there. Like his big reputation of getting out, and the only thing that's preventing him from not committing suicide is the books. So he's really passionate to get those books. But within those 35 years, in the year 2010, this little boy named Pete Saubers, he lives in Morris's old house. Oh, I forgot to mention this. Before Morris went to jail, he ended up burying the books so no one could find them, and so like he'd hide all the evidence from killing the author. I totally forgot to mention that, like he buried those pages, and then like Pete Saubers ends up finding them. Like they were buried under a tree, but were they I think it was on top of the tree they were buried. Like it was either on top or in the bottom, under all the roots in the bottom. I can't really remember, but he ends up finding the books, and then he ends up reading them, and he really likes them, and he finds all the money too, and he's giving the money to his parents, but secretly though. Like he's getting these envelopes and putting them in the mailbox, and it's like mystery money, his parents call it. So yeah. And then what else? And then later on, he decides to publish these books. Like he wants to publish these books into like a museum or like to like somewhere privately. Like, but it's like like a private publishing though. He's doing with Andrew Halliday actually. So yeah, so that's what Pete's doing, and we also get to see a lot of his life with school and like how he adapts with school and like him growing up and all of that. So yeah, and then all of a sudden Morris gets out of jail, and then he tries to go back for the trunk. Yeah, the trunk is where the books were. He tries to look for that, but then once he finds it, his books aren't even there at all, and so he really flips out from that. And after that, he tries to look for his books, and he tries like he attempts to do anything to look for those books. Like he can literally attempt murder, anything to get his hands on those books. Meanwhile, while all this is happening, the heroes from the first book, Bill Hodges, Holly Gibney, and Jerome Robinson, are all solving this case too, because they opened this company called Finders Keepers, where if people need help, then they'll help them with like solving these cases. Like they're private detectives basically. So, yeah, and then so Pete's little sister, what's her name? Tina Saubers. She thinks that something is very wrong with Pete and that he might be the one that's sending the secret money. So like she's really worried, and like she can tell that he's been so stressed and he's been overthinking so much. So she thinks that there's something wrong. So she decided to go to Bill Hodges because Jerome's little sister, Barbara Robinson, is best friends with Tina Sauber. So, like, she tells her about the private detective Bill Hodges that can help her out. So, yeah, once they get to him, he tries to find out what's wrong with, like, Pete and all. And then he ends up finding out about the whole John Rothstein thing. And then he tries to help out with the case, too. So, yeah, so he wants to help Pete. He wants to protect Pete from Morris. So, yeah, that's basically the whole plot of Finders Keepers. Now, like I said, this book is an amazing book. I love it so much. The thing I love most about this, and I'm not even gonna lie, this is probably my favorite of the trilogy so far. I mean, actually, yeah, this is my favorite of the trilogy, even though I haven't uh, finished End of Watch. I already know this book right here is my favorite of the trilogy because right now, as I'm currently reading End of Watch, there are a lot of slow parts in it, and a lot of it gets boring. But what I'm reading right now is actually starting to get very interesting, though. So, yeah. But with this book and my Mr. Mercedes, those books are really fast. Actually, like these are really fast books, and like they're very interesting. They're very compelling, and like they get you hooked. Like literally, like from the first page all the way to the last page. They are very interesting, and you can't even put your hands down on them. With Mr. Mercedes, I mean, Mr. Mercedes is an amazing book, but I just felt like since I watched the TV show first, that I had a lot of high expectations going into the book, and it wasn't as good as the TV show was. So yeah, but the book was still great. Don't get me wrong, I still love that book. But with this book, I actually like this better than the season 3 of Mr. Mercedes because you get a lot more emotion in this book. You get a lot more what's the word? You get a lot more. I can't find the word, but you get a lot more motivation to finishing it. You get a lot more motivation to finishing it, like to like seeing what happens and all of that, and it gets you hooked, and like you're really interested in all these characters, and yeah, it's just so interesting. And my favorite parts of this book were probably the beginning, because the beginning was super interesting. Like I could not get my hands down on this book when I was reading the beginning, because there was so much happening, and like I was super interested in everything that was happening. We kept jumping back and forth between two different timelines, just like it reminded me a lot like it when we jumped through the two different timelines with the kids and the adults. Same with here, we jumped through two different timelines, the timeline with Morris and then the timeline with Pete. So yeah, I thought that was super cool and interesting to read. So yeah, but what else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and the middle was great. I love the middle with like showing Bill Hodges again, and then showing more of like Pete's drama, showing a lot more of Morris when he gets out of jail. And I love those little scenes where Morris gets out of jail, and like he's seeing like how much the world has changed since 1978 to 2014. He's like well, now people always have these phones they always have their hands on, and now there's these things called computers, and so yeah, those parts were kind of funny, not gonna lie. And then, but a lot of scenes with Morris were actually pretty funny in the middle, like him taking like little piss tests with this other guy, and like or urine test, as I should say. He's used to it because he's used to going to the bathroom and going to the shower with many other guys. So yeah. What else was I gonna say? Let me think. Oh yeah, and then and Morris too. Like Morris is actually a really good villain. Like he actually reminded me a lot like Annie Wilkes from Misery, and I will be reviewing Misery soon, by the way, because that was the very first Stephen King. I mean, that was the second King. I mean, the very first, the first King book I was reading was It, but then I didn't finish it, and then I decided to go to Misery, and then that was the very first Stephen King book that I finished, and then I went back and finished It. So, yeah, I'm probably gonna end up reviewing Misery sometime soon, but I haven't read it since like what was that year, like 2016 ish. I think yeah, around 2016. So I haven't read that one in a while. So when I review it, I might have a lot of hard time remembering. So yeah, but with Finders Keepers, I think I read this last year, so I'm pretty like so I have a pretty good memory on it. But Morris Bellamy, he reminds me a lot like Annie Wilkes from Misery because they both obsess over books. They both go crazy over books. They're both psychotic. What else? They both kind of have the same. I mean, not really the same personality because Annie Wilkes just takes shit to the next level, but Morris Bellamy on the other hand, kind of like can like wait and like he has patience. So that's what I like about Morris Bellamy. So um, what else? What else about Morris? Yeah, but he was really cool though. Like his whole motivation with like getting the books, like you can really relate to him a lot. Cause like, if Stephen King, and I can actually relate a lot to Morris in this book. Actually, like Morris is actually very relatable to me, and just letting you guys know, if Stephen King ever has any unpublished books with continuations of the Losers Club, like continuations of Bill Denbrough or Beverly Marsh, I will literally go crazy for that. Like, I would go crazy for that. I would want to break into. I mean, actually, I shouldn't say that. It's just a fucking joke. It's just a joke, guys. Don't take it seriously. But I would go crazy if he had continuations of Bill and Beverly and all the little loser and all the Losers Club. I would go crazy if he had unpublished books about those. Like, cause that's like the number one thing of Stephen King that I'm really really interested to see a lot more of. So yeah, so I can really get Morris's motivation here because, like, the unpublished books he stole were continuations of the Jimmy Gold trilogy, which the Jimmy Gold trilogy ended on a like sort of a cliffhanger, but not really, because like the author John Rothstein ended the books with like the main character Jimmy Gold like going into what was it called, going into to newspaper or something like that, or something about like newspapers or something like that, like having a shitty life like that. So he makes the main character Jimmy Gold have a shitty life towards the end, but he hates how the trilogy ended, and he wants more of it. Like he doesn't believe that that's the end, and so the Jimmy Gold trilogy is his favorite trilogy, and he doesn't want to let that go. Like he really wants to see what happens next. So yeah, and I can really side with Morris there because I'm like, yeah, Morris, I can definitely see where you're going with this. So yeah, I can really side with him a lot. And what else? Anything else I should say? Anything else about Morris? And Morris, like I said, he had a lot of funny moments too, and he was funny, and he was a funny and cool villain, and he was deliciously evil too. Like he was pretty evil. Like towards oh yeah, if you guys haven't. Yeah, I'm so late into this video, and I forgot to mention, if you guys haven't read this book, then you guys should leave, because like I'm gonna be getting into some pretty major spoilers in this review. So if you guys haven't read this book and you are interested to read it, so yeah, like I said, I will get into some spoilers. But what I was saying but don't worry, if what I was saying in the review from like like what I was saying before in this review was not spoilery, but right now I'm gonna be getting into some spoilers. But yeah, because Morris in this book, he's very evil. Like he decides to kidnap Pete's little sister to get those books. Like he's kidnapping her and he's like dragging her along places. He's breaking her ankles. He's like punching her. He's slapping her, and he's just so evil. He's doing that to a little girl. So yeah. What else? Anything else I should say? Yeah, and he doesn't care for anybody except for just the books. Like, he cares for no one. He has no heart for anyone but the books. And I can kind of relate to him there because, like, movies and books are my life. And, like, they're the number one things that prevent me from not, never mind, I shouldn't get into that. But, what else was I saying? But, I mean, of course, I care for my family and all of that, but like movies and books are like the number one thing I love in this world. Yeah, I'm just being totally honest right here because that's like the number one thing I love most in this world. But of course, the number one thing I love most in this world is my parents. These, these with my hobbies and what I like to do is my number one. So, yeah. What else was I gonna say? But he doesn't have a heart for anyone for just except for books. So that's what I love about him a lot too. Anything else? And he also has this really like gruesome scene where he kills Andrew Halliday with a hatchet, and like he keeps stabbing him with like the other like the pointy side on the pointy part of the hatchet on the other side, and he keeps stabbing him with it, and like there's so much blood everywhere, and even Andrew Halliday's like, I'm bleeding like a pig, and he's like, you are a fucking pig. Yeah, so that was really cool. So yeah, like I said, this book has comedy. It's got gruesome scenes. It's got like suspense. So yeah, so this book I would literally say is like a like I mean I wouldn't say perfect book, but it's damn near a perfect book though. So yeah. So that's why I like this one more than Mr. Mercedes, because like I can side a bit more with the villain and it's more interesting, and like I just couldn't put this book down, like I said. But with Mr. Mercedes, like I was like, yeah, I can put this book down, but with this I just couldn't put it down at all. So what else was I gonna say? What else was I gonna say about Finders Keepers? About Morris. Let me think. Yeah, I think that's all I should talk about Morris for now. But like I said, Morris, he was probably my favorite character of this book. Yeah. Oh yeah. Actually, I changed my mind about that. One more thing about Morris. So I'm gonna be comparing this to the Mr. Mercedes season 3. The one huge thing, like the one huge difference between Morris and the one from the TV show is that in this book, I forgot to mention, Morris is an old man, and you guys could have probably figured that since he spent 35 years in prison after he was like an adult or something. Like he killed the author when he was an adult, obviously, like when he was like 20 years old, and then he got back when he was like 60 or something like that. So yeah, but in this book, we focus mainly on him as being an old man. But in the TV show, all of it was just him from the age he killed the author being in his 20s. So in the TV show, throughout the whole thing, he was in his 20s. So yeah, throughout the whole TV show, he was in his 20s. So yeah, that's the huge difference between this and the TV show is the huge age gap. But in the TV show, we also had this girl named Alma Lane, which he was working with. Like he had a partner, this old lady that he would always like to bang all the time since he was 13. So yeah, but that none of that was in this book though. But Alma Lane was another version of Morris. Like she basically resembled Morris's appearance in this book since she was old and Morris was old, and here she had the exact same motivation as Morris with the book. So yeah, but like what was I gonna say? So yeah, that's a huge difference between this and the TV show, and yeah, so that's like the biggest difference between this and the TV show. But other than that, the TV show of season 3 basically has the same has the same gist, the same vibe and all of that. So yeah, and also in the TV show, the John Rothstein's death is a lot more recent, so people are more so like Pete finding those books is a lot more of a big deal, and it's a lot more like of a huge deal for Pete, and like more legal too, as you would say. So, yeah. What else was I gonna say? Oh yeah, and then the TV show, there was like another story in the TV show, but like that has nothing to do with what's going on in this book though. So yeah. Anything else I should say? So yeah, and then so let's get more onto the characters of Pete Saubers. Cause I'll mainly say Morris and Pete are the main characters of this book, a lot more than Bill Hodges and all of them are. Like, despite this being the sequel, the heroes of the first one aren't really like the big the big main characters of this, but they still got a lot of like time though. Like they still got a lot of scenes in this book though, but nowhere near as in the first one though. But many people, from what I've been seeing on YouTube and the internet, I've been seeing a lot of these books in this trilogy. Like, this whole trilogy as a whole actually has been very, very polarizing. Like, there's a lot of people who say they love this trilogy. I think this is one of King's best work. And a lot of people who say they hate this trilogy and they don't even see the point of it. And it's one of Stephen King's worst books. And I've seen a lot of other people too say that this trilogy is okay, but every book is the same. I don't see why they say that, why every book is the same. I mean, I can kind of see that being like this whole trilogy revolves around cat and mouse games, but none of it's the same. Like, they're all different stories, they all have different vibes, so yeah, they're not all the same. They're all very different, especially this book. Like, this is a very different like take on the trilogy, so yeah. But despite Bill and all of them not being the main characters, it actually makes me like this even more, because I like the two main characters of Pete and Morris more than Bill and all of them. So yeah, and I think that's how it worked in season 3 too. Like, I was a lot more interested with Morris and Pete in the TV show than I was with all the stuff with Bill and them. But yeah, so yeah, like I said, it has the same gist of the TV show. What else was I gonna say? So yeah, Pete, let's get on to Pete now. Pete is an amazing character. I loved him a lot, and Pete was also another character I could relate to a little bit. I mean, a little bit. I can relate myself a lot more to Morris, but a little bit with Pete though, cause he sometimes he stresses a bit, and like, even though like people call him a good kid, like he's not like he's not largely like the most honest or the most like good, you know. So yeah. What else was I gonna say? But Pete, he was great. Like, I love that whole scene where he found the books, and like how he at first he wasn't making a huge deal about the books until he found out what their main motivation was, like how they were used during a crime, and like how he would get stressed a lot while he was trying to sell the books to Andrew Halliday. But I liked all the emotion with him, and I even loved this one quote, this one little quote he did in this one thing he said in the book. There was this one really funny scene where he was talking to the class about books and all of that, and then he was talking about opinions, and he was like, "Opinions are like assholes. Everyone has one." Yeah, that's actually really funny. I even tabbed that scene in blue, like somewhere here. So yeah, that was really funny. I love that scene. I love that scene a lot. Anything else I should say? Anything else? Oh yeah, and then I really liked his whole the whole time gap where we get to see him aging to from when he's 13 to when he's 17, like how he's going through all his years of high school, and he's being an A student. He's getting along a lot with the teachers. He even one of the teachers asked him to stay in the room and was like, "This is the best paper I've ever seen on an author." And yeah, because he knows a lot about John Rothstein with all the books and all of that. So yeah, he's just a really good kid is what I like about him. He's a really good kid, but the only thing that just makes him not the only thing that makes him the only thing that makes him kind of detract from that is just him not being honest with his parents, and all the other things that go down because of that. So yeah, but he's a really good kid though, and what's so interesting about him is that he's such a good kid that he doesn't even deserve all this bad shit to happen to him in this book. Like, he doesn't deserve it at all because he's such a good kid. So yeah, and he even loves going to the school clubs. He loves being in in the honors classes. And he cares a lot for himself. Like, he largely cares for himself a lot. Like, I mean, not selfishly caring for himself, but he has so much self-love, and he cares for many others too. Like, he really cares for his sister mostly and his parents. So yeah, and I love that a lot about him. He's a kid with a huge heart. So yeah. Anything else I just say about Pete in this book? Anything else about Pete? So yeah, and all the scenes with him and Andrew Halliday were pretty cool too. And I loved all the scenes where he's reading all the unpublished books, and he really loves them a lot, and like he even has a favorite too. So yeah. Anything else I just say about Pete? And then when we get to what happens to him towards the end, like, you really really feel for him. But I won't get into that until I fully start talking about the ending. So yeah. And so yeah, Pete, amazing character. I would definitely say Pete and Morris are like on the top 10 best Stephen King characters actually. So yeah. And then we get on to Bill Hodges in this book. Now, Bill Hodges, he's an amazing character. I mean, not an amazing, but he's a great character. Like, I really like Bill Hodges a lot in this book. Like, in the whole trilogy, he's a great character, but I care for him a bit more in the TV show, but in the books he's still really great though. Like, I love that scene where he's attacking this one guy with a happy slapper, as he calls it. Like, he likes to hit him with it, and it really hurts people. So yeah, that whole scene where he's attacking that one guy in the air with the airplane. So yeah, he had a lot of funny moments like that in this book. And I really loved how he cares a lot for Pete too. Like, when he meets Pete for the first time, he tries talking to him, and then he gives Pete his phone number, and Pete, like, that's the very first person Pete goes to, like, when he gets in trouble, like, with when he finds out about Morris and all of that. That's the very first person he goes to. And then and he doesn't even have any problems with taking many changes, and changes to his plans and all that, because like towards the end Pete starts making him go to many different locations, and he's like, never mind, go to this place, never mind, you should go to this place. Yeah, those parts were pretty funny. Anything else I should say about Bill Hodges? But Bill Hodges doesn't care about any of that. Like, he wants to help Pete. Like, he really like, this is after like his whole like retirement, and like him like being so suicidal in the first book. So now he's like fully rising up, and like he wants to solve other cases, and he wants to do other things. So yeah, and so he's really passionate to help solve this case. So yeah. Um, Anything else? And also he has a huge heart too for Holly and Jerome too, and even Jerome's little sister Barbara and Pete's little sister Tina. Like, he has huge hearts for them too, and he really cares for them, and like he really cares about their situations, and like he even tries to cheer them up when they're crying. So yeah, he has a huge heart. Anything else I just say about Bill? And then towards the end, he even has a little fight with Morris too, which was pretty cool. And anything else I should say about Bill in this book? Oh yeah, and he even has a cool moment where he visits Brady in the hospital. Like, he's talking to him about, your mother's dead and shit like that, and he's just making fun of him, trying to get him to wake up because he was in a coma. Because in the first book, in the end, he got conked in the head with like a shoe sock by Holly. And so since then, like, he's had a lot of brain injury, and he's had a lot of like brain issues, and he hasn't fully functioned. Like, he's just been staying in the hospital for years, and this is supposed to be set 3 years after the first one. So yeah. Anything else I should say? So that whole scene where he talks with Brady was pretty cool, and then like you even get like a little sneak peek of what's gonna be in the third book, because like Brady actually has like telekinesis. He can like move things with his mind. So from that scene, it'll show you that in the next book, Stephen King is gonna go back to his normal routes of the supernatural. So yeah. Anything else I should say? So yeah, and I really liked how we got to see Brady again, because I really like Brady a lot. I think I like Brady a little bit more than Morris, but Morris is still amazing though. Like, the villains in this trilogy are amazing. So I'm just gonna say that. So yeah. Anything else I should say? But yeah, Brady's obviously not the villain of this book at all. Like, far from that, he doesn't really have a character in this book. So yeah. Anything else I should say about Bill? So yeah, I think that should be it about Bill. And then we get on to Holly, and I really like Holly a lot. Like throughout this whole trilogy, Holly is amazing. Like, and I can relate a lot to Holly too, because Holly has a lot of anxiety issues. She's socially awkward, so yeah, she's always very much to herself, and like she's always nervous all the time. So I can relate a lot to Holly too, and that's what I love about this whole trilogy. Is they give me characters I can really relate to. So yeah, but I can definitely say like I'm like Holly meets Morris. So that's basically me, is Holly meets Morris. So yeah. Anything else I should say? But Holly's amazing in this book. Like she also has a huge heart too, with helping out Bill and the helping out Pete, and like caring about the little girls a lot. And she even there's even some parts in this book where she feels like crying, and then she's a huge movie expert too, like me, and like she loves Godfather too. Like I love those little scenes where she's watching Godfather too, and like she's thinking about her favorite quotes, banana daiquiri and shit like that from the Godfather too. um Anything else about Holly I should say? So yeah, Holly, like, there's not really much to say. She doesn't really do much, but she's still an amazing character, and like, she's still very passionate to help out. So yeah, and then Jerome is an amazing character too. Like, he helps out Bill and all of them, and like, he's also passionate to help with this case. And I think he's on a break from from Harvard, his university. So it's like, I think he's doing like a little break or something like that, and he's just staying with Bill and all of them. Anything else I should say about Jerome? Let me think. But Jerome, yeah, he's still really cool, and I love what he does towards the end. Like he helps Bill and Pete escape from the burned, abandoned record place or something like that. Anything else I should say? So yeah, not much to say about Jerome, but Jerome was a great character too. So yeah, and then Tina and Barbara were also great too. Like they were really cute, but you know, cute as you call a dog cute, like a dog or a puppy cute. They were really cute. I really cared for them a lot. Like Barbara and Tina were really funny too, and there was a lot of very like heart touching scenes with Tina and Peter talking and all of that. Like especially in the beginning too, like a lot of scenes with Tina and Peter that were actually very emotional, like them talking. Like so, yeah. Anything else I just say? But Tina had a lot of great moments, and definitely towards the end, you start to really you really feel bad for her because of all the bad shit that Morris is doing to her, and like, uh, she's crying a lot, and like she's so scared, and even and Peter feels so sorry for her. So, yeah, and what else was I gonna say? But yeah, with Tina, like I said, you really feel bad for her, but she is a really cool character though, and same with Barbara too. Like Barbara was really cool too, and in the third book, she has a bit of a bigger role, but I'll get to that once I review that book though. Anything else I should say about them? Oh yeah, and like I said, I really liked how Tina was like being smart about the whole private money situation, about and how she's being so smart that it's even Pete, and there's even a part where she's like, Pete, are you the one giving us this money? Be honest. And he keeps saying no. So, yeah, but Tina, she's really smart too. So that's what I like about her too. I think that's all the characters in this book. Oh, there's also Tom Saubers in this book, but he doesn't really have a big role. In the third book, he has a bit of a role, but not. I mean, he has a role in this book, but like, he's not really a character you mainly like care for, you know. But in the beginning of the book, you see that he was a a victim of the Mr. Mercedes thing in the first book that Brady did, where he ran over all those people in the line, and he was one of them. But he didn't die. He just got crippled, like his legs broke. But once the secret money came in, he was able to get his leg good, and like he stopped using his cane. So yeah, so that was cool. Um, Anything else I should say about this book? Oh, let's get on to the ending now. So, like I said, the ending was great. Like, first we start off with Morris. Like, he's so sad that the books weren't in the trunk. So the very first person he goes to is Andrew Halliday, because Andrew Halliday was the only person who knew about him killing Rothstein and the books and all of that. So he goes to him, and Andrew Halliday doesn't even recognize him because of how old they got. And then even Morris like starts cracking up about that, and he tells him something. I forgot what it was, and he's like, "Oh my God, Morris, what happened? I thought you were in jail." Yeah, and yeah, that scene was great, and I already talked about that scene where like Morris kept like stabbing him with the hatchet, and then he even hides his dead body in the back, and then like, but before he kills him, he tells him like, "Where are the fucking books?" And he's like, the books. There's this little kid Pete. He has them. So yeah, so that's when he ends up going to Pete, because like Pete ends up visiting the store later on, and then he's expecting to see Andrew, but it's not Andrew. It's what they call it's what the book called what Pete calls in his mind the opposite of Andrew Halliday, because like he's so skinny and like he's so wrinkly and all of that. So yeah, but he tells him like, I think Andrew's waiting for you in the back, but he's like, that's weird. I've never heard of Andrew having anyone else here besides just himself. So once he goes to the back, he sees Andrew's dead body, and so that makes him scream a lot. And so that makes Morris pull out the gun that he found in Halliday's drawer or whatever. Like he pulls a gun on him, and he tells him like, "Where are my fucking books?" and all of that. And then they have a little fight, and I think he throws like a piece of glass at him or something like that, and then like, or like a piece, or like a thing of like bourbon or like something like alcohol related he throws at him, and then he's able to barely escape from him. And then after that, that's what makes Morris calls Pete, and he's like, don't even think about going to the cops about this, because if you do, you're guilty in many ways too. So, and I'll pin it on you. So yeah, and then he tries to make a deal off him, but then like Pete keeps hanging up on him, and so that's what makes him kidnap the sister. Oh, he shoots the mom, but then the mom survives though, but she's bleeding a lot. She's badly injured, but he kidnaps the sister, like I said, and then that's what makes Pete call Bill and all of that. And originally he was gonna have Bill meet him at the store, but then obviously that couldn't happen because of everything that was happening. And then and then he wants him to pick him up, but he's like, no, never mind, I can just take the bus from here. And then after that, he's like, meet me at my house, and then they're like, actually meet me here in this old records place. Like there, oh yeah, I forgot to mention there was this old records place, like this old concert place or whatever, an abandoned concert place where he would like to go to hide his books and all of that. And even Morris would go in there too, but he never even knew the books were in there, which was funny. And he even says that later on. He's like, the books were here this whole time, and like he thinks, and like he's like he keeps thinking, I'm so stupid for not looking there. So yeah. Anything else I should say about the ending? Oh yeah, and then like he has them meet at the abandoned place, but then like Pete ends up getting a plan to like get the lighter, and some gasoline to like burn the books, because he thinks Morris really doesn't deserve it. So yeah, and obviously Morris doesn't deserve it because of all the bad shit he did, and he even killed the fucking author. So yeah, so he meets him at the record place, and then he has all the books in one area, but then before he does, like he puts gasoline on them, and he's like, and Morris is like freaking out, like Morris is freaking out, like, please don't burn these books, don't burn these books. And then like he's freaking out so much, like he really wants to shoot him, and he's like, okay, but before I do, let me just tell you what happens. And then Morris is like, please don't burn them, I'll just take them and leave, but before I do, I'm gonna shoot her in the leg. But then like Pete accidentally drops the lighter, and like Morris is freaking out so much, and then Bill ends up being there, and then Bill's like trying to like and then Morris is trying to go after Pete again, but then Bill like pushes him, and then like they have a little fight, and then Morris even punches Bill in the balls, and he can barely even move after that. And then Morris is like yelling, is like screaming so much for the books, and like he's trying to take out the fire, but then like Morris's screams turn into howls of pain, like, and because like he's actually like burning with the books, like he's trying to turn off the fire, but there's so much book, so like he's burning, so like he's like he keeps touching them, so they end up going on him, and like they end up burning him, like, and then he ends up burning to death, and the whole records place ends up burning. So, and then they barely end up leaving out, like all three of them, Bill, P, and Tina, barely leave by the window and Jerome helping them up. And then before they leave, Pete is like, wait, I want to watch this. Like, he wants to watch Morris burning because of all the bad shit. Like, because all of it, like, everything that happened in this book, everything that he went through was all his fault. So he wanted to watch him burn. But then Bill was like, no, don't see that. You don't have to see that. Let's go. So yeah, and then they leave, and then like what else was I gonna say? So they leave, and then they just go. They all just go. And then like so that they all just leave, and then like everything becomes happy afterwards. So yeah, and then before the book ends, before the book ends, we get another scene of Brady, of him using his telekinesis, and then that's what hints on the third book, like I said. So yeah. But oh yeah, and there's even a really like touching scene where Bill and Pete are talking in the, like, next to the river. Like, they're in the woods, like, next to the river, talking to each other about the whole situation and all of that. And he's like, everything's gonna be okay. I promise, everything's gonna be okay for you. So that was a very like heart touching scene with Bill and Pete. There weren't any moments like that at all in the TV show, because Bill and Pete never even talked. They only just talked once when they were on the phone. He's like, I'm a private detective, listen to me. And then Pete just hangs up on him. But I like the book better because of those moments with Bill and Pete. And Bill and Pete have a huge relationship in this book. So yeah. This book is amazing. Like I said, better than the TV show. The only book that the only like book that I would say, I mean, the only part of the TV show that I would say beated the book was only season 1 of the Mr. Mercedes first book. So yeah, I think that's the only one where I would say the TV show beat it. But like, other than that, the books beat the rest of the seasons of the TV show. So yeah, this book was amazing, and I'm absolutely, like, no question, gonna be giving this book an A+. This is definitely one of my favorite Stephen King books. I'm just gonna say that. So yeah, this is definitely going on top 10 for sure. So yeah, like I said, A+. I highly recommend this book. If you guys haven't read the Mr. Mercedes trilogy, or actually, I shouldn't even be saying that, since like I'm sure most of you who, shit, my little brother's crying now, so I'm gonna have to end this video. So yeah, but I'm sure most of you who stayed this long have already read this book, so I don't even have to say that. I should have said that earlier. But yeah, but if any one of you stayed, why? If any one of you stayed, please read this book. Amazing book. So yeah, A+. Bye, and see you all in the next review.